Let's do a very quick recap. Let's get into this, and we will do a little of a recap on the Shagzari because it's very important to have the steps clear, because we can't answer it until we have a very good grip on exactly what the question. All right. So again, so basically, Shagzari's question is an Elam who is not a medaber because he can't speak. The question is, what does he do about all his doraisa mitzvahs? So, for instance, Krishma, Berchas Hamazon, and probably even Berchas Torah, things like that. What does he do with his doraisa mitzvahs? Because the Torah says v'di bar tabam, and he can't speak. The question is, can he use Shemei Ka'ona? Okay, now Shemei Ka'ona is a concept we use all the time, but Shemei Ka'ona means it is as if he was Ona. It has a din as if he spoke. Now remember the Chazon Ish and the Beis Halevi. Is it as if he's speaking, or is it if I'm using the yellow guy's voice and who's the speaker? But point being, no matter how you slice it, it is Shomea Ka'ona, meaning it's as if he speaks. The problem is, can an Elam have a din of speaking when he physically can't speak? Now, why would you think he can't? Because we know the rule is that Kol Aroy Lebila Ein Bila Makevesbo, but this guy can't speak. So he's Ein Aroy Lebila. So do we say since he's Ein Aroy Lebila, he can't speak? And Bila is Makeves, but do we say it or not? Okay, good. Now the Shvulei Leket happens to be of the opinion that we do say Bila Makeves. Gentlemen, I apologize. I must get something to drink. I just have to get something for my voice. I'll be right back. I do apologize. Just 1 second, please. Okay, gentlemen, I do apologize about that. But I have a Masorah this way. I saw my Rebbe, the Shiva Zatzal, he was giving Blat Shir, no, it was a Pilpul Shir, and hundreds of guys in the basement. The basement is packed, and the Shiva's in the middle of Shir, and he stops, and he's thinking, He stood there maybe 10 minutes, just, I can't describe the tension in the air as the place is silent, and the Shiva Zatzal is thinking. All right, anyway, it was a very, very awe-inspiring moment. Okay, so anyway, I apologize. I don't think this was awe-inspiring, but I can't speak without something from my voice. Okay, anyway, so the point is the Shvulei Leket. Let's pick up the Shvulei Leket. So the Shvulei Leket has the following question: You in Milah Shmona Esrei, are you allowed to use Shomea Ka'ona or not? Now again, the halacha is, and this is Kuf Daled in Shulchan Aruch, and the halacha is we do. If you're in the Milah Shmona Esrei, you stop and listen and use Shomea Ka'ona. Now, you remember there's Machlokas, Rashi, and Tosas, right? Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam. Rashi is of the opinion that 100% Shomea Ka'ona works. Rabbeinu Tam says not only does Shomea Ka'ona work works so much that it's mafsik. You're speaking out in the middle of your Shmona Esrei, and therefore it's a hefsek. But halacha l'maisa, we do stop, and the minhag is to rely on Rashi Shita, and that's how we do it. We listen and we use Shomea Ka'ona. However, the Shvulei Leket says, no way, you cannot do it. Why? Because since you're in the middle of Shemona Esrei, you can't speak. And if you can't speak, it's called the Shrein Roy Bila, Bila's Makevesbo. Since you can't speak, so how could you have a din of speaking? And so the Shvulei Leket says that even by tefillah, that you can't use Shemona Ka'ona because it's because Kol Roy Bila Makevesbo. So here, Kol Shekain says the Shagzari, he would say by an Elam who physically can't speak, Kal v'chomer, he's not Roy Bila, and therefore, according to Shvulei Leket, you cannot use Shemei Ka'oneh by an Elaim, and there's nothing to talk about, and therefore an Elaim is stuck. Now, what in Lamaisa, what would an Elaim, according to the Shrei Leket, what would an Elaim do? I guess he doesn't, it must be a situation of Onis Rachmana Patre. I don't know what he would tell him to do because he's really stuck, but all right, in any case. Now, we're going to have to understand just the sort of scenes of coming attraction. We're not going to spend time this evening on it, but this sugya is going to really focus on understanding Kol Shein Roy Bila Bila Makeves Bo, because that really, I believe, is the fundamental yesod that we're going to need to understand for the Shagas Aryeh. So let's at least make sure we get the steps of Kol Shein Roy Bila Makeves Bo properly. So here's the concept of Kol Shein Roy Bila Bila Makeves Bo. So a man says a korban mincha alai of 61 esronos, right? Normally a korban mincha has to be belula. So this man said, I want to give a korban mincha of 61 esronim. So it happens to be that 60 esronim could mix properly with one lug of oil. However, if you put 61 lugim into the pan with the oil, it's makeves bo. It's not a good mincha. And he has to give that mincha again. It doesn't count. It's nisrofim. It's not a mincha. Here's the problem. The problem is, let's say you put 60 esronim of solas and one log of oil into the pan, and you've got to do belila. You've got to mix it up. The halacha is it's yotze. So the Gemara says it makes no sense. Why? Because if you didn't do belila at all, with 60 esronim, it's not ma'akev. The belila is not ma'akev. So why is it that if you did 61 and you can do belila because one log is not sufficient to do to mix in for 61 esronim, why is it that's makeves bo? Makes no sense. The Gemara says this is Reb Zera's rule. Kol shein roy lebila, kol shein roy lebila. If it's roy lebila, mean if it's 60 esronim, it's roy lebila. Then bila not makeves bo. But kol shein roy lebila, if it's 61, it's not roy lebila, and therefore bila is makeves bo. And this is the principle that the Shmuz Leket uses to explain why this person, since he's in Shemona Esrei, he can't speak. So he's in order the bila, so bila makeves bo, he can't use Shemei Ka'oneh. Kal v'chomer, says the Shagas Aryeh, and Elaim, who physically can't speak, surely can't use it. All right, so far so good. Now the Shagas Aryeh argues, and he says, Rabbi Shmuz Leket, with all due respect, totally missed the boat. Why? Because when do we say by the mincha it's kol shein roy lebila bila makeves bo? When you cannot do the belila, meaning you have to l'katchila do the mixing. 61 esronos is not enough to mix, so therefore you can't do it. It's not roy lebila. But this concept Shemei Ka'oneh really works. But not only does it works l'katchila, meaning by the mincha l'katchila you have to do belula b'shem, and you have to actually mix it in. And if you can't mix it in, it's not roy lebila. But here, this situation of Shemei Ka'oneh, piv shel chaver kepiv dami, when this guy listens, he's as if he's speaking. So it's mamish. There are two ways to speak. You could speak in German, you could speak in French, you could speak by listening, you could speak by speaking. But speaking by listening is 100% speaking as if you spoke it out. And therefore, Shemei Ka'oneh is mamish l'katchili, is speaking. So why would you say it's not good? This is a system of speech. Shemei Ka'oneh is l'katchila, and therefore says the Shagas Aryeh that he holds in Svara at least that this Elaim could use Shemei Ka'oneh. Why? Because it's not ein roy lebila. Because this is 100% l'katchila way of speaking as if he spoke. Gentlemen, is this solid? Is this clear?
At this point, yes.
Good. I mean, it has to be 100%, meaning, according to Shagas Aryeh, this has to be 100% a system of Dibur as good as Dibur itself. If it was second best, it was just like a bimkom, it would never work. The Shagas Aryeh is based on one yesod. Shemei Ka'oneh is exactly the same as Dibur, exactly the same as Amira, and if it's l'katchila, you could use it l'katchila 100%. Now, it happens to be very logical what the Shagas Aryeh is saying, is because we use Shemei Ka'oneh all the time, right? We use it Kiddush Friday night, we use it by Mikra Megillah, we use it, it's a regular thing we use, so it's certainly logical that it's a l'katchila speak, and therefore it's not It's not like Bidi Evid, you could use it, or you really look at Tchilas to speak. It's 100% speaking, and therefore it's good. All right, good.
Does
Now,
anyone else side with the Shivoi Leket that you can't use Shamei Kana here?
by the Elam, yes, there are others. Yeah, he's not alone. He's not. In terms of Shona Esrei, he there. I don't know if anyone says it there, but by Elam there are others. The halacha happens to be like the Shagas Aryeh, but but there are others who use who do say by an Elam can you Shemei Kona? Yes, yeah, he's not alone, not a lone figure. All right, let's proceed.
Rebbe, so
Yeah.
Yaakov posed this question on WhatsApp. This is what we were struggling with over Shabbos. Does the Shibuli Leket feel that Shemaya Kaona is not lechatchila, or does he just say you have to be able to do it in every lechatchila way? I mean, if you can't do it with Dibur, which is one of the lechatchila ways, then it's no good, or is it Shemaya Kaona is like Histam feels it's b'diavad?
That's a good question. That is a good question that I didn't think about till now. What does the Shul Leket hold? Why does he say Shomea Ka'ona doesn't work? 1 second. Why doesn't Shomea Ka'ona work? Why don't we say it's 100% L'Katchila? Why don't we say that it's 100% L'Katchila, just like the Shagas Aryeh is saying? It's a very good question that I do not know the answer to. We're going to work on the Shul Leket a little bit, his understanding of Ein Roy the Bila. Just 1 second. Yeah, I guess let's think it through for a minute. Meaning he can't speak, so how could you say he's Shemei Ka'ona?
He's saying the file doesn't work. He's saying it doesn't work, or that it's like a b'diavad way of doing it.
I don't want to comment because I don't know. I haven't I have not thought this through. It's a good question. The Shri Leket is well worth thinking about. Why is it that he says? Really, the bigger question is, and this one I did think a little bit about, and this is an important point. Why is it? How does he learn culture Ein Roy Labila? How does he understand the concept? Meaning, he clearly learns that you have to be able to physically speak, otherwise it's not good. Why is that? What's the mechanism there? How does he learn culture? It's a similar. Actually, the truth is, it's a similar question to what Yaakov's asking. But the question that I am struggling with is, how does he learn culture in the Bila Makevitz? And I don't.
Right. We were thinking maybe what that meant was that in order to be Roy Levila, it has to be that you can do it in any possible lechatchila way, meaning Shemaya Kaona or Medaber, since both of them are lechatchila ways of doing it. Maybe you need to do it in both of those ways, have the ability to do it.
So honestly, that's not logical, because if either way is lechatchila, so what's wrong with using if system A and system B both are lechatchila? Well, you can only do system A. Therefore, what? It's a lechatchila way of doing it. What's the problem?
Right. So the problem is that the only alternative, at least that we could think of, was that then you're saying Shemaya Kaona is on a b'diavad way to do it. But do we ever see that anywhere? That Shemaya Kaona is like is a lesser form of Dibur?
See, there may be an alternative. We're gonna have to see. Let's see. Let's see. Obviously, if it works, it is lechatchila. The question is, does it work? The Shri Leket feel it's clearly it can't work here because you can't be medaber, therefore it can't work. But if it works, meaning he's not going to deny Shomaya Kaona working and working lechatchila, but he feels it has to be roy lebila for it to work. And the question is, how does he learn Ein Roy Lebila? That to me again is the question. I'm sorry, someone had a question with hands raised. Yeah, go ahead.
So I was about to say that he holds very simple. If the guy cannot speak, therefore the equation can't work. Shomeya ke'ona, guy can speak. If he hears it, he's speaking it. If he cannot speak, no matter what, he's not speaking. It's impossible. It's a physical impossibility. And he's out of luck, unfortunately. That's how he learns it. I'm not saying I agree, because it doesn't hop of I guess fairness, but it's a simple understanding. A person who cannot speak, who hears something, It's not as if he speaks because he cannot speak. That's
This
how I
came up-
understand it.
This came up at the end of the last year because Rebbe said, "What if somebody has no arms? How are they going to check the korban?" Isn't that the same
Well, yeah. So
thing?
that's with a regular shlichus. That there, because Shomea Ka'ona is unusual in the sense that it has to have a din like I spoke, meaning because it's a mitzvah begufo. Kiddush Friday night is a mitzvah begufo. I have to make Kiddush. So how can I listen to you and be able to Kiddush? My guf has to say the words. Shomea Ka'ona is I'm speaking. So that question of the armless person making a shlich for shechting a korban is by a different kind of shlichus. There the mitzvah doesn't have to be begufo. Shechting a korban doesn't have to be a din in your guf.
Right.
You can make a shlich for it. Over here, all right. So, gentlemen, let's circle this. It's something well worth understanding. Again, he clearly has a different understanding of kol she'ein ro'eh lebila makeves bo. Now, Martin, in structure, you're right. It has to be something about the fact that when do we say Shomea Ka'ona? Only if you could be Ona, then you have a din of Ona. But if you can't be Ona, we can't give you such a din. The question is, what's the understanding? I have a theory, but at this point I don't want to speak it out yet because I'm not convinced yet. But let's proceed. All right. So far so bad. I mean, so far so good. Good. All right. Now the Shagas Aryeh now brings proof to the fact that he says that this concept that even though the Elam physically can't speak, there's a concept Shomea Ka'ona which is lekatzchila, and therefore he's roy lebila. He says, I'll prove it to you. Why? Let's look at the mitzvah tkiyah shofar. Okay. Now here's a mitzvah shofar. Let's deal with this case of chatzi eved. So we know a woman is pater from Shmiras kol shofar because it's a mitzvah seishes man grama. It's only on Yom Teruah, the day of Rosh Hashanah, so women are pturos. An Eved Kanani as a din of an Isha for all situations. What if we had an Eved who was owned by two masters? One master frees him, so he's a Chatzi Eved and Chatzi Ben Chorin. Now, here's his difficulty. This man, half of him is Chayev like any other Jew, half of him is an Eved like an Isha, Potter from the mitzvah Tkiyah Shofar. So what does he do? Because his half that's Ben Chorin is completely obligated in mitzvah Tkiyah Shofar. His half that's an Eved is completely not obligated. So what does he do with the mitzvah Tkiyah Shofar? How does it work? Now here's the problem. The problem is that when this guy blows, what's coming out of that shofar is a half of a Tkiyah of a Ben Chorin, half of a Tkiyah of a Eved. So it's a half a thing. Here's the problem. The problem is his Sad of Ben Chorin has to hear a totally good Tkiyah shofar, but all he can emit is a half a sound, half that's Ben Chorin sound, half an Eved sound, so he can't be motzi himself, and he's in big trouble. What does he do? Right? And this is a situation, he can't be motzi himself. So yet we know that a Chatzi Eved, Chatzi Ben Chorin is chayev, must be, says the Shagas Aryeh, and since his free side is obligated shofar, must be the only choice he has is to listen to a regular man, a free man. When the free man blows the kol shofar, that kol shofar is 100% good. So the Ben Chorin side of him heard a totally good shofar. Okay, now here's the Shagas Aryeh's punchline. If so, watch what we got. We got a guy who can't blow, right? He's not able to blow because if he blows, it's a bad tkiyah because, right, it's half good and half no good. Yet you're telling me he's able to listen to somebody else. How could that be? He's Eino Roy Lebila. If he can't blow, he should be Eino Roy Lebila. Since he can't blow, he should be Eino Roy Lebila. And therefore, this Chatzi Eved should not be able to be Yotze by somebody else because he's Eino Roy Lebila. Because we assume he's got to blow the shofar just like anybody else. Must be what? That just like we say by Shomea Ka'ona Piv Shelchaver Piv Dami, so to over here, it gets a din as if he blew it himself. When he hears the blowing, it gets a din as if he blew it himself.
So we answer that's not the case. We answer that it's shlichus.
Well, this is, so far the Shagas Aryeh is really just setting this up as a din in shlichus, but here's the point. This guy can't be a good shliach. Why? Because the Chatziev Chatziman Chorin guy can't blow himself, so he's Eino Roy Labila. He's not Roy to blow. How could the other guy be a shliach for him when he has to blow it himself? It's not going to work.
Oh, the other thing is he's not speaking. To say that Shmuz Ka'ona, yes, the guy cannot physically speak. Here, it's not a physical limitation. It's a limitation on his status, which is, you make a chiluk between the two.
Right, but the problem is that he has to blow the shofar. And he can't blow the shofar because he's a Chatzi Eved Chatzi Ben Chorin. So how could he have somebody else be motzi him when he himself can't? And must be this concept of Kol Shein Roy Bila is wrong. Now, the truth is, at this point, honestly, at this stage of Shag, it's hard to understand exactly what he's saying. It's when he speaks it out more clearly, when he splits apart the Shmi and the Tkiya part, that's when we really we see much more clearly exactly what the Shag means. So let's really take this as a little bit vague, meaning at this point, it really is hard to nail down exactly what the Shag means over here. Because, it's, what do you mean? Well, you know what I'm saying? Jake, you know what I'm saying, right?
I believe so. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So let's go a little bit further in Shagzari to get him nailed down exactly. Okay. So the Shagzari asks a question on his proof. The question on his proof is, since the Ikatzkiya Shofar is Shmiya, therefore, maybe I have no raya whatsoever. Why? Because look, all this guy has to do is listen. I'm saying, here's my Chatziev. All my Chatziev guy has to do is listen to Tkiya Shofar. He doesn't have to blow himself. And therefore, he's a 100% good listener. So maybe there's no raya whatsoever. He would only have a raya because if the Chatziev had to blow the shofar, then okay, great. He can't blow the shofar. Must be Ein Bila Makeves Bo. But since the whole mitzvah Tkiya Shofar is only Shmiya, he can listen very well. So Shagzari basically slugs up his own proof, right? Now he has three proofs to the fact that it's right. You guys, do you hear that step clearly?
I hear the step, but I just may ask like the clutch kasha. If he can't blow, why can he hear? And if he can hear, why can't he blow?
Okay, so let's say the mitzvah is only Shmiya's Kol Shofar, right?
Okay.
Now, in that case, his sad, half of him is Ben Chorin. Half of him can listen very, very well to a man who could blow the shofar. He can't, this Chatziev can't blow the shofar because when he blows the shofar, it's only half of a kol. Half is good and half is no good. So he can't blow. Okay, good, he can't blow. But he could listen.
Wait. Half the blow is, why? Because we say that? I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Just like listening to something, you're saying that it's a sound. So physiologically, the two ears hear one sound. You don't hear things twice. So the whole sound that the guy hears is a half Eved and a half free man that's listening to something, listening to a sound. And by blowing, there's Elbazach. He's blowing, but half is blowing as an Eved and half is blowing as a. I don't see a chilik between the two. We're just saying there's a chilik. I don't agree.
Okay, here's the basic difference. If the mitzvah was Tkiya Shofar, blowing the shofar, right? So who blew this shofar? The answer is
half and half. Okay.
Half and half. In which case, the blowing of the shofar is a half of a blowing.
Okay.
Right? So al Tkiya, he can't do a good Tkiya at all, because if he does Tkiya, it's only half of a blowing. And he has to have a whole blowing. He has to have a Ben Chorin, has to hear a whole, right? Now, in terms of Shmiya, if someone else blows for him, it's a full good Shmiya. In other words, meaning if someone else blows, it's a full good Tkiya shofar. His Ben Chorin part can hear it very easily, very well.
And if he blows himself, he can't hear it the same way?
No. If the mitzvah is Tkiya, then
he's got a problem. Okay.
He's got a problem. If the mitzvah is Shmiya, he doesn't have a problem. That's exactly the point. If the mitzvah is Tkiya, he can't do it. If the mitzvah is Shmiya, he could do it.
Okay.
All right, good. So now the Shagzari brings three proofs that the mitzvah is Shmiya. What's his proofs that the mitzvah is Shema called shofar?
The music.
Yeah. So number one, the rule is medaber ve'eino shomea. Meaning if someone's is deaf, he can't be motzi somebody else. Now, why can't he motzi somebody else? If it's Tkiya shofar, the guy's deaf, good, but he's a good blower. He blows it fine. Why can't he be motzi somebody else? Must be he can't be motzi somebody else because he's not chayev b'dover. Why is it that he can't be motzi? It must because he's not chayev because the mitzvah shmiyah. Bingo, we have a proof that it's a din in shmiyah. That's proof number one. Proof number two is that listen to the bracha. The Rosh says, listen, the language of the bracha is lishmoa kol shofar. Why is it lishmoa kol shofar? The Rosh says because b'shmiyah talim milsa. That's the mitzvah is shmiyah. Good. And number three is tokei lebor. If a guy blows into the bor and he doesn't hear it himself, he's not yotzei. If the mitzvah was tkiya, who cares if he hears it or doesn't hear it? He blew the shofar. It must be, it's a din in shmiyah. So 3 rayas at shmiyah. Now, if this were true, the Shagas Aryeh would be toast. Because, again, if the whole mitzvah was shmiyah, it's very obvious why you can listen to a bar chiyuva blow, because the bar chiyuva blows a beautiful, perfect kol, and this chatzi eved listens to a perfect, beautiful kol. So, and therefore, the Shagas Aryeh would be toast. However, the Shagas Aryeh says, I'll prove this not true. It's not only b'shmiyah talya milsa, it has to be b'tkiya also. How can I prove to you that it's also b'tkiya? Because I have 3 proofs the other way. If the entire mitzvah is a shema kol shofar, 3 cases would not make sense. Case number 1 is misasek. If a guy blows to either to practice or he blows to
Rebbe, can I just go back for 1 second? I just want to get that step very clear, that last step, before we get to his raya to himself.
The last step meaning being what?
Meaning the raya against himself. I want to get that very clear.
Yeah.
So is he saying that, meaning he's trying to the Shibuli Leket's whole position is that if you're Ein Roy Labila, is that there are certain things that make you Ein Roy Labila. What he's trying to prove here is that maybe those things don't make you Ein Roy Labila. You could still have, you could have some issues with the mitzvah, but you're still Roy Labila. Right. So what he's trying to do with that Shemiya's situation is say against himself that this Chatzi Eved Chatzi Ben Chorin.
Well, first, how is Chatzi Eved a good raya? Let's say before you the Shemiya, why would it be a good raya?
Okay, so it's a good raya because there is a way where the Chatzi Eved Chatzi Ben Chorin could be Yotzi the mitzvah, and yet there's another way where he cannot be Yotzi the mitzvah, or he's not able to be Motzi the mitzvah, which should render him technically an Ein Roy Labila. But the fact that he's able to be Yotzi the mitzvah by someone else shows that really he's Roy Labila. He is Roy Labila.
Yaakov, I agree with you. I would add one line though. Since the Eved is chayav to blow the shofar, and he can't blow the shofar, yet he can listen to someone else blow it. It must be, even though he can't blow it, he could have a din of blowing it by listening to someone else blowing it. Similar to the medaber who can't speak, but he could have a din of shomea ka'ona.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be the fact that the Eved is chayav to blow. If the Eved is not chayav to blow, the Shagas Aryeh is no right. It's dead in the water. There's nothing to talk about. It's only because since the Eved has to blow and he can't blow, yet he can listen to someone else blow, and that gets a din as if he blew. Oh, must be, even though it's not Roy Labila, must be you're wrong. It must be, this is not considered, this is considered lakatchila, just like Elaim, it's considered lakatchila. It's a good way of speaking such that it's not considered Ein Roy Labila.
Wait, so would he agree with the Shibbolei Leket that the Eved is Ein Roy Labila, or he would say no, the Eved is Roy Labila here?
And that's the point. He's saying even though let's assume for a minute the mitzvah is Tkiyah Shofar. So even though the Chiyuv is Tkiyah Shofar and the Eved can't blow, he can listen to someone else blow, and it gets a din as if he blew himself. So what do you see? And this is not considered an Ein Roy Labila case, because even though you're using a secondary system, he can't blow himself, but he used someone else to blow for him, gets a din as if he blew, and just like the Elaim gets a din speaking.
Right. I mean, he now is Roy Labila. Whereas the Shibbolei Leket would probably say that.
Well, I don't know. You don't call it Ein Roy Labila. I don't know what exactly the Nakuda. And the point is, it's even though he physically cannot blow, and he has to blow to be Yotze, by listening to somebody else, it gets a din as if he blew. It's Ein Roy L'Bila. Obviously, you don't say that because getting a din as if he blew is good enough. It's not considered Ein Roy L'Bila.
So it's not considered Ein Labila.
I'll tell you what, you put in front of it. If you want an easy way to understand the Shagzari is, let's assume for a minute, Shomer was Kitokea. Let's do such a din. Shomer Kitokea. Then you'd understand exactly what the Shagzari is saying, right?
Yeah.
You look, this Evid can't blow, yet when he listens, yet he has to blow. When he listens to somebody else blow, it gets a din. His Shomer is Kitokea. Obviously, he can't Tokea himself. Must be that Shomer Kitokea is good enough, so too Shomer Ka'on is good enough. So if that were true, then we'd understand the system. Now, it happens not to be true, and we have to understand him anyway, but that's clearly his system.
Okay, so then when he brings in Shomea as a proof, Shmiya against a proof against himself, then what is he saying?
So now at that point, then there's no raya. Why? Because if it's Shmiya, so of course the Evid could listen. The Tzad Cherus of the guy is a full listener. So the only way it's an issue of Shomer Kona is if he has to blow and he can't blow. Meaning, see, the Chatzi can listen but can't blow. He can't blow because when he blows, it's half and half. He can listen though. So if he only has to listen, it's no raya. Of course, the guy can be motzim because he's listening to the shofar, and it's fine. But if he has to blow, then it becomes an Ein Roy L'Bila situation, because since he has to blow and he can't blow, but he's listening to someone else gets a din as if he blew, must be it's not considered Ein Roy L'Bila.
Meaning, if you say the mitzvah Shomea, then he doesn't really. You don't have to say Shomea Ketokea at all because you don't really need the tekiah.
Right? Who cares? Who needs the tekiah? Right? Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
Nothing to do with our sugya. That's really the point. All right, good. All right, so good. However, so if it was Shmiya, Shagzar be in big trouble, but he says, I can prove that the three rayas that it's tekiah as well. Number one, misasek, meaning a guy is practicing, wants to play the bugle. He says, makes sounds, whatever. And the halacha is that he's not yotze, nor is a shomeam in a misasek yotze. Why is a shomeim in a misasek not yotze? He heard the kol shofar, meaning it's a ram's horn. It's from an aisle, even make it look atzchila, it's great. And it's blown, he heard the sound. If the whole mitzvah was shmiya shofar, what's wrong with a misasek blowing and be yotze from a misasek? Good. So that's raya number one. Raya number two, where am I? I gotta move my slides. I'm sorry, 1 second. Raya number two, I'm sorry, that's shmiya misasek. Raya number two is cheirish shot of a cotton, meaning exactly if the whole mitzvah was shmiyas kol shofar and a cheirish shot of a cotton blew, you heard a kol shofar. Now the Mishnah tells us that a cheirish shot of a cotton blow, you're not yo emoti rabim eshidei chavasam. Why is it that a emoti rabim yidei chavasan? Anyone listening is going to hear the kol shofar. Must be it's a din in tekiah shofar and a cheirish shot of a cotton and a chayiv in the mitzvah, so there can't be tokeya. It must be tekiah is part of the mitzvah. And the Shagzari is the third raya, the Chatzi Evid case himself. Why? Because we said the Chatzi Evid can't blow, right? The Gemara says he can't be motzi, not himself, nor anyone else. Why can't he blow? If it's strictly a mitzvah in right, if he heard the Ben Chorin heard it perfectly, it's a kol shofar. Why would a Chatzi Evid have a problem listening to a kol shofar? He'd be perfectly capable of listening, even to his own kol shofar, if it's listening. Well, no, wrong. 1 second. Fumble. This is a good point to be silent. We do 1 second. What's the raya from Chatzi Evid? 1 second. Raya from Chatzi Evid, because if it was a din, if it wasn't a din in tekiah, it was only shmiya. Chatzi Evid. What? Gentlemen, I don't get this right. 1 second. Just give me 1 second. This is a good time to be silent. Like just 1 second. Oh, again, if it was only a din in shmiya,
Isn't that raya that even if he like listened to it from anything, he would be yotze?
Yes, I
Meaning
guess. Yeah. So
a
even
YouTube video.
well, yeah, it
I'm
has to be
stretching it, but
transformed.
I'm saying same
Yeah, you're
idea.
right. Yeah, I guess you're right. Right. Meaning, even though he only created half a sound, who cares? It's a sound from a shofar. So half of him is no better, no worse than chev shofar v'kata. Meaning, his chatzi that's an isha is no worse than a chatzi isha. So let it be like chev shofar v'kata. And who cares? Who cares who made the sound? And the whole mitzvah is listening. And if the whole mitzvah is listening, you must be. It's also din tkiyah. All right. So therefore, what? So therefore, he says it must be that the mitzvah shofar is two things to it: lishmoa kol shofar and tkiyah shofar. The mitzvah is both. You have to do two things. You have to hear the kol shofar and you have to blow it. So therefore, what? Now he has a good raya from Chatzi Eved. Why? Because this Chatzi Eved, he cannot blow for himself, but he has to blow for himself because the mitzvah consists of both listening and blowing. And yet, when he listens to somebody else, it gets a din as if he blew himself. Must be, it is not a raya. Must be that even though you don't, meaning you don't say ein roy lebila and bila makev's bonus case, just like the elam, and therefore it's a perfect raya. Good. Must be kosher roy lebila and applied. All right, so far so good, right? Right now, our question on this Shagas Ari's proof is, Rabbi Shagas Ari, with all due respect, you're cheating. Why? Because the dibur, we know there's a mechanism called Shomea Ka'ona. The reason why there's a mechanism called Shomea Ka'ona is because most of dibur, 85% of dibur is das. And there's a din that, since mostly das, Shomea could be kid dibur, like my affirmation, am I shaking my head, my amen, signing on the bottom of a document. Meaning, really, it's my das that's the main element. So I don't really have to speak it out except to sort of like bring it into the world in some manner. So I could shake my head, I could say amen. Anything would be the same as speaking. Even a shomea could be ka'ona, but it's shomea ke'ona. It has a din as if I spoke. However, no one in the world would say that by shofar, shomea is ketokea. Shomea is like you blew the shofar. Maybe shomea should be like I put on tefillin. Shomea is like I ate matzah. Shomea is like I drank wine. And no one would say that. So what in the world does a Shagas Aryeh mean? It doesn't make sense, right? Now, what we did last Thursday night was we started the steps of the answer. Clearly, the Shagas Aryeh cannot be learning Shomea Ketokea. Clearly, he must be learning there's a Chi of Shmiya and a Chi of Tkiyah. And at least part of it, the Tkiyah part, you have to be able to use regular shlichus for. Now, regular shlichus, we know. How do you know shlichus? Well, most of the four rayas, one of which is a shachto so kol adas ben arbayim. Meaning what? One man does the shchita of the goat, and the entire klal Yisrael yotze, the maisa shluchus shaladan kamoso. He does the maisa, and the maisa transfers over. The maisa transfers. So now, maybe we'll say what the Shagas Aryeh means that shlichus applies to tkir shofar, right? That you could use to use shlichus tkir shofar. Now, the problem that we have to deal with initially before anything else is the famous Ksosis question, and that is that if it is a mitzvah begufo, which it is, right? Tkir shofar. Let's see what another mitzvah begufo. Here's the Ksosis question: I have to put on tefillin on my arm. And why can't I ask you, and why can't I say to you, listen, I'm a little tired this morning, you go to shul, you put on tefillin for me, right? And why can't it be, why can't I have it work? Teretz is, a mitzvah shebegufa means, there's a mitzvah of Shimon to put tefillin on his head. When Ruvain puts tefillin on his head, the maisa transfers 100%. But it's a maisa of putting tefillin on Ruvain's head that transfers. So Shimon gets credit for putting tefillin on Ruvain's head, but Shimon never put tefillin on his head. And mitzvah gufa means it has to be on his head, and therefore it'll never be on his head. So, meaning the maisa can transfer, but the maisa is the maisa of Ruvain putting tefillin on his head, but it's not on Shimon's head, and therefore it doesn't work. So therefore what? So therefore, how do you use shlichus by tkiyah shofar? Good. So clearly the answer has to be that he's learning. Well, actually, let's start the Yom Teruah now. All right. Let's jump to the Yom Teruah. Fair enough? Are we everybody good? We're all good?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so let's see how the Yom Trua deals with this problem. It says, I don't read this. Oh, sometimes the letters don't come out. It's OCR, but okay. Optical character recognition doesn't work. Okay. Kasha Bishim Haya Mitzvah Barosh Hashanah Litko B'Shofar Ritzel Mishkol Echad Echayev Litkoa Havi Asa Shapir D'Cheir Shod V'Koden Ein Motzim. Meaning, the Mishnah tells us D'Cheir Shod V'Koden Ein Motzim Yedei Harav Midei Chavosan. If the mitzvah was to blow the shofar, I would understand why Cheir Shod V'Koden doesn't work. Because they're putter from the mitzvah. Mishena Shach Mitzvah Yechal Asosa. One who's not chayiv in the mitzvah can't do it. Come on, Evid. Shen Yechal Lichtov Get, and Evid can't write a get. Why? The law of B'nai Krisus Ninu. He's not a B'nai Krisus, and therefore, if he writes a get, it's not a good get. And Dana Torah's kedushin v'gittin, and Evid is not a Torah's gittin v'kedushin. Aval Hash because of the Rambam Reishei Hilcha Shofar v'Zel Lashon. But now, since the Rambam clearly wrote it. Mitzvah say shel Torah lishmoa. The Rambam wrote the mitzvah is to listen. Im kena mitzvah yashmiya. If so, the definition of the mitzvah is shmiya. Lo atkiya. The kevan shekain cheir shod v'katan im yitku v'acherim shomim lama ein yotzim. Why aren't they yotzei? Are mitzvah yashmiya? The mitzvah shmiya v'rabim shomim bazneim. And the Rabbim here. What's the problem? Ma ichban lama atkeo cheir shod v'katan. Who cares? If the tokeya is a cheirish shod to v'katan, which is basically what, gentlemen? Where did we hear this point before?
That's our question that we're asking now.
Not exactly, no. Where did we hear this point before, gentlemen?
Shagazari said this.
Shagazari brought
That was one of his rayas.
Right, this Shagazari brought this as a proof. I'll prove to you it must be that it can't be only a din in Shmiya. It has to be Tki as well. Because Cheirshot of Cotton. So basically, Yom Trua starts out just like the Shagas Aryeh. But I mean, it starts at a kasha. Why is Cheirshot of Cotton? If the whole mitzvah Shmiya, why is it the Cheirshot of Cotton doesn't work? Good. So that's his kasha.
What was his Havamina? Can you explain what was his first step?
Yeah.
Meaning before the
Shmiya.
Rambam, why would you? Meaning, what was he saying that you would have a Havamina to make him
Yotze
means in Shlichus?
No, yeah, I don't know how exactly, but let's say the mitzvah is Tkiya. Then I understand why Cheirshot of Cotton is no good because he can't be Tokeya. So
because you can't be Tokeya, so you can't have a Shliach, or because you're not even Bechal Torah's mitzvah.
Since he's going to be my shliach for the dover, right? My Cheirshot of Cotton. If the mitzvah is Tkiya shofar, he is not shaykh but dover in the mitzvah, so of course he can't be my shliach for it.
Meaning because he's like a guy.
Yeah, he's not chayv in the Tkiya, just like an Evid is not a bar krisus. I can't make an Evid a shliach for kedushin or gerushin. Why? Because he's not a bar chiyuva. I can't make a guy a shliach for kedushin or gerushin because he doesn't have a hand for it. It doesn't work. So too, he does the ma'aser. But it's no ma'aser, meaning the ma'aser. Let's say the ma'aser transfers. Simply understanding when I make a shliach, the ma'aser transfers. But if he didn't do a ma'aser, he has to do a ma'aser of Tkiya shofar, a ma'aser of Tkiya shofar transfer. But he's a cotton. He can't do a ma'aser of Tkiya shofar.
But he doesn't change anything though, right? Because even after the Rambam, he's not saying that the Cheirshot of the Katan should have any more connection to the mitzvah. They're still Peturim. He's just saying.
Wait. Do we get anywhere? Do you have a question on what we read?
Yeah. What's the switch? Why all of a sudden is he comfortable?
He didn't answer anything. I didn't say, he has a kasha. We're only up to the kasha. You get to. I don't. Do you have a question on what we read?
No. Yeah. No teretz. Meaning, what's his switch? And you just said I understand the Mishnah. The Mishnah makes very, very, very good sense if you say that it's Tokiya. Yeah, but it's really Shmiya.
Right, and therefore, why can't a Cheirshot of Cotton blow and let everybody listen and let everybody be Yotze?
But his whole problem was you can't be Yotze because he's nothing to do with Ein Misha Eino Shaykh b'mitzvah. That's what he said.
That if the mitzvah is the Tekiya,
but he's still not Shaykh, even if it's Shmiya.
But who cares? The mitzvah is Shmiya. I'm a good listener. Let's say a guy built my sukkah, right? So can I sit in a sukkah the guy built?
Sure.
The guy built the sukkah, and says, "Oh, mitzvah yeshiva sukkah, sit in the sukkah. A Jew sitting in the sukkah is yotze." So to the whole mitzvah was shmiya. Who cares who blew? A guy blew, a Jew blew, whatever. Who cares? The mitzvah is to listen. You listen, you're good.
So mom is like the Shagazari, okay?
Yeah. All right, good. Now, so V'yir Lomar Teretz is the mitzvah Rosh Hashanah Hiyat Tkiya Ve'ashmiya Shneim Yachad, and the mitzvah Rosh Hashanah is the Tkiya and Shmiya together. Vika mitzvah Hiyat Shmiya. The main part of the mitzvah is Shmiya. L'chulukas mitzvah Tkiya Osa Shliach. For the other half, for the minor part of the mitzvah of the Tkiya, for that you can make a Shliach L'chavero Sheyitka Ba'ado. He should blow for me. And since I hear my shliach doing the tekiah, I'm yotzei. That's very good. Now we understand what can't be motzi. They're potter. So if you're listening to even though half of the mitzvah you yotze, I mean the shmiyah is fine. That part is fine because your whole mitzvah is listening. That part's fine. The other half of the mitzvah, the tekiah part, they're not yotze. Why? The base kolakim mitzvah tekiah shmiyah. There are two parts of the mitzvah tekiah shmiyah. So when I hear the chereshoto content blowing, the shmiyah part is beautiful. I heard the kol shofar. And the problem is I need a tekiah. Let him be my shliach for tekiah. The tekiah part, he's a chereshoto content. He didn't do a tekiah. He can't be my shliach for it. Okay, and so far so good. Now, however, there's an obvious problem. Now, if you ask me, Akasha, if the tekiah is part of the mitzvah, as we now said, how could Ruvain be yotze when Shimon blows? We know the Ksos' famous rule, and by the way, the Yom HaTruah is much earlier than the Ksos, but we know the famous rule. Mitzvah gufo ain't on yachol as a shliach. For mitzvah gufo, you can't make a shliach. Just like I can't make a shliach to listen to the kol shofar. I can't say, you listen, Rosh Hashanah, I'm tired. You go to shul and listen for me. For that I can. Because my ears have to hear the shofar. And I know the choletz lo masi shliach sheyichlotz. It's the same reason a choletz can't make a shliach sheyichlotz bado. I can't make a shliach to do chalitza for me because I have to do it. So too, I should not be able to make a shliach to someone to blow for me. Meaning, very nice. I just explained that the mitzvah is the tekiah and the shmiyah, and I said the rule is for the tekiah part I make him a shliach. For the shmiyah part I listen myself. If the tekiah part I make him a shliach, it's a mitzvah begufo. How can I make him a shliach? Makes no sense. Yesh lomar. What's the answer to Kruxiv? Yom Trua Yelachem. Torah says Yom Trua Yelachem. Umashna Shekol Yisrael Yotzim B'Trua Achas. The pasuk says Yom Trua Yelachem to all of you. Yom Trua to the whole Jewish nation. Mashma Kol Yisrael Yotzim B'Trua Achas. The whole Klal Yisrael is Yotzim one Trua. Kedarshina B'Sukkah. Just like we make the drasha in Sukkah, Parak Yashan. Mikra V'Yikra Chav Gimel Membeis. The Chol Ezra V'Yisrael Yeshu B'Sukkahs. Over there we made the drasha that the pasuk says Kol Ezra V'Yisrael Yeshu B'Sukkahs. From there we learn you don't have to own the sukkah. Sukkah shula is yotze, because the Torah says the entire Jewish nation can be yotze in one sukkah. Obviously, it means even though you don't own the sukkah. So over here, Yom Turi Yelachem, one blowing for everybody. The efshes elai deshmiya. The only way there could be one blowing for the whole Klal Yisrael is by listening. In Crane, Galik Kra, if so, the Torah revealed to us the linear at Kia. In regards to the tekiah, you can make a shliach. I guess, and not for the other part, except by shmiyah. In regards to the tekiah, you can make a shliach. And for that part, the Torah is not makbid. Ela shmiyah, only on the shmiyah after you have beguf. Therefore, you can't make a shliach for the shmiyah. However, you can't. Right. However, you didn't lose the tekiah. Tekiah is still part of mitzvah. If a shot of cotton won't work. All right, Jen. What's the Shakazari saying, real quick?
Rebbe, he mamish has the Shakavataria from the end of our last year. He says it all out. It's amazing.
He sure does. Except one big problem. What's his conclusion?
That it's shlichus. It's bad for the Shagas Aryeh, isn't it?
It's horrible for the Shagas Aryeh. But not only is it horrible for the Shagas Aryeh, what's he saying?
He's saying that there's two parts to the mitzvah.
Yeah.
It's not Shmiyah and it's not Tekiah. It's both.
It's both
And-
good. And one
and-
part you could use the shlichus for.
and
What's
one
that part? Yeah, it's key. You could use the shlichus for. Shmi, you have to hear begufo. So
Right.
only two major problems with this Yom Teruah. What are the two major problems, gentlemen?
One is shlichus, and the other one sounds like the fact that he's saying that there's really like the ikr and the tuffle. The shmiyah is really the ikr, and like the tuffle is the tekiah. You just have to deal with it. No.
Okay, I'd like to ask two questions on this Yom
Well,
Teruah.
how did he answer his question?
Oh, the answer is very simple. He answered the two parts of the mitzvah. One part shlichus can apply to, the other part shlichus can't apply to. For the tekiah, the Torah says Yom Teruah Yelachem. Obviously, it means that you don't have to do. It's not a mitzvah begufo. That part's not a mitzvah begufo. It can be done. What do you call it? Just by shmiyah, just like you can make a shliach for a kedushin. The shmiyah part that you have to hear begufo. So the two part, that's the answer. Chevisho to the katan can't do the tekiah part for me because he's not a bar hachi. But if I have a bar hachi, do it. So the tekiah part I listen. He's my shliach for that. The shmiyah part I do my ears, and everything is beautiful.
So does bar hachi mean? Does it need to be someone that has a chiyuv on him?
Yeah, it has to have a chiyuv because he's my shliach. Just like I can't make a guy a shliach for kedushin because he doesn't have a yad for kedushin. I can't make a chayiv short of a katan a shliach to do tkiyas shofar because he's not a bar hachi. He's not chayiv.
And did he invent this drasha?
Oh, thank you very much. Number one, with all due respect to the Yom Teruah, and he's the Rebbe of the Beis Yosef, he is playing Amora, and he does not have an Amora's license. You cannot make up a drasha unless your name is Ravina, Ravashi, Abai, Rava. They make up drushas. But if the end of the Amoraic period, you are not allowed to make up drushas. You're not allowed. You lose your Rishon license of doing it. What he's doing is making a drasha, number one. But number two, gentlemen, I want to ask you a question. Why can't you, let's start say, if Yom Teruah teaches us, even the Shmiyah should be by the Shliach. Well, how do you know to make the split then? If Yom Teruah tells you you could use a Shliach and it's not a mitzvah gufo, maybe the Shmiyah also could be a Shliach. Send somebody else to shul to listen. Go listen to Tkiyah Shofar for me. How do you know one part has to be begufo then?
No, but Rebbe, he wasn't saying that the whole mitzvah is not a mitzvah begufo. He was saying that he was trying to explain how even though it's a mitzvah begufo, you get out of the tekiah aspect of it being begufo.
But if there's a drasha that he claims exists, so why doesn't the drasha apply to the whole tekiah and shmiyah?
Because he's saying that the drasha that exists is showing you that it's only the shmiyah that's a gufo dekadin. That's what he's saying.
Where do you see that?
Because Yom
Yelachem. By the way, there's only one source in Kol Torah Kula to blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, I mean the two psukim by Rosh Hashanah, but Yom Teruah Yelachem, that's the source. Yom Teruah Yelachem, one pasuk. Again, there are two instances of it by Rosh Hashanah and one by Yovel. That's why we have 3 kolas 9, 30. But point being, Yom Teruah Yelachem is the pasuk. So if that pasuk tells me that it could be Aidei Shliach and no mitzvah gufo, so maybe it's the Shmiyah and the, how do you know? Well, it's only for the Tkiyah part, that not a mitzvah, but the Shmiyah part, that's the mitzvah gufo. How do you have a right to say it? Number one, how do you have a right to make such a drasha when we don't see this drasha anywhere in Shas? And number two, how do you have a right to limit the drasha then? If the drasha says Yom Teruah and it means a shofar is not a mitzvah gufo, so the whole thing's not a mitzvah gufo. Make a shliach to do the Shmiyah as well.
So obviously he learns the entire way to learn this from other things. He's not just pulling it out of the air. So he must be.
He must. I'm not questioning. He's a great Rav, tremendous Talmid Chacham, and he knew. But I have a right to say that this is a lot of illegal procedure. Now, let me be very honest with you. The reason why I brought in the Yom Teruah more than anything is to justify his structure. Meaning, when I told you on Thursday night, I'm afraid people may say that's a pretty wild structure, Rabbi Schaefer. Whatever. So I'm bringing a support that such a structure is legitimate. Happens to be we're not going to use the Yom Teruah, But I just wanted to bring the Yom Trua as a raya to the structure, to be able to say that part of the mitzvah is a mitzvah b'gufo, part isn't, structurally. And now, again, I don't think he's correct, or at least, I mean, of course he's right and I'm wrong, but Laman Pilpul, I have a kasha on him. Number one, you have no right to make the drasha. Number two, how do you right to split it? But this is basically the mahalach we're going to go with, but very different than the Yom Trua. But again, I brought this as a raya, so you don't say I'm going way off on a tangent. I'm like, apikorsis, etc.
I mean, Rebbe, there are Rishonim who's like the Rush and the Rambam who say beferish that the ikar of the mitzvah is the shmiyah. We make the bracha that way, so it's not like so far off to say that you just need a good tekiah, whatever that means.
But it's not so far off to say that there's one pasuk, and if it's not a mitzvah gufo, everything in the pasuk is not a mitzvah gufo. I mean, what if we're right to split it? Well, I feel only the tekiah part, but not the shmiyah. But where do you have a right to split it like that? Now, if you presented a reason, okay, a reason I could hear, but I don't hear a reason here. He just saying I like it to be that way. Well, I'd like it to be a French.
It's a little funny though, because he doesn't say it's a drasha, and I don't think he means it's a drasha. He's not darshaning. He's just taking an idea from a pasuk and there's a reason why I think he quoted Sukkah Perkayashtan, meaning regularly
just for the record, that is a drasha in Sukkah. It's mamash a drasha that teaches us halacha. How do you know?
In Sukkah, he says the word darshinan. He doesn't say darshinan here. It's right?
Okay, it's good. So what's he saying over here?
Meaning he's saying, now that I know that that's a drasha and that was an amora with an amora's license, now I know that the Torah thinks like this. Now I'm not making a new drasha. He's saying, it's a mashmaz. It's not a drasha that he's inventing. He would never do that. I think it's a mashmaz based on, even if he didn't have another pasuk, he would never take the mashmaz. He has a drasha, and he's just going along the same svara of that drasha.
Though, no,
here's the drasha in Sukkah.
Rabbi, and by Sukkah, by the pasuk over there.
Yeah, so now he's taking a mashmaz based on this logic that we know from the other drasha. He's not making a new drasha. Otherwise, he would have said,
so if he doesn't have a drasha, it's a mitzvah b'gufo. The tekiah is a mitzvah b'gufo, just like the shmiyah is a mitzvah b'gufo. If you don't have a drasha, then it's a mitzvah b'gufo. If you don't have a drasha, you don't have a drasha. If you have a drasha, you have a drasha.
No, he has a drasha that you can split things. He doesn't have a drasha here specifically that this is a split mitzvah.
What?
He has a drasha from Sukkah that you don't that Sukkah, even though you would have a meaning that it's a mitzvah b'gufo, it's not a mitzvah b'gufo.
No, that's wrong.
It's a mitzvah b'gufo enough that you don't need your own Sukkah.
100%. Mitzvah's yeshiva sukkah is a mitzvah b'gufo, 100%. Every part of it, every aspect of it. If I tell you go sit in the sukkah for me, it's a joke. I can't make you a shliach. What we learn from that drasha is only that sukkah she'ula, meaning we learn from sukkah echad that I could sit in your sukkah, and that I don't have to own. Meaning lachem, the Torah says lakachtem lachem pri eitz hadar. You have to own the lulav. And it also says by lachem, it says by sukkah. So maybe a sukkah you have to own, and I can't sit in your sukkah. No, and we have this drasha called Yisrael Yeshu b'sukkah. The entire Klal Yisrael can sit in one sukkah. Obviously, they don't all own it, and not a shava pruta worth for each Jew because it's not going to be the value. So they can't own it. Must be one person can own the sukkah and everybody can sit in it. You see that a sukkah you don't have to own. That's a wonderful drasha.
Meaning, but he had to have a meaning that you would have to own it because it's a mitzvah b'gufo.
No,
that's what
because lachem. Because it's lachem.
No, without lachem, meaning without lachem, he's saying that I would have a meaning that I would have had to own my own sukkah.
You're now inventing things. You're worse than the Yom Trua. You're inventing because it's not true. The reason why by sukkah we would think is because it's lachem, just like lachem by lulav and esrog.
Which means what? Lachem means that it would need to be for you.
You need to own it. You have to own it. You know why? Because the Torah said you have to own it. Why do you?
So what's the drasha here?
By sukkah it says also there's a lachem. You shoved them.
Right? No, but I'm saying what's the drasha that he's bringing out here? What's the drasha that he's learning? We call echad that people sukkah echad. What's the drasha? That even though you don't own it,
right? The Gemara in Sukkah's drasha is that even though you don't own the sukkah, you can be yotzei the mitzvah sukkah. I can be yotzei mitzvah sukkah in your sukkah. Sukkah she'ula works. That's what we learned from.
Meaning the Torah told us lachem, so you thought it wouldn't work, and now comes another drasha and tells you that it does work.
Correct.
So what does that drasha have to do with our drasha?
I don't know. Don't ask me.
When he quoted that line, what does that line mean? We
He
just
said
read
it's
over
a
it.
similar drasha, meaning just like there's that drasha, so too there's this drasha. Yom
So-
Teruah Yelachem means a Yom Teruah for the whole Klal Yisrael. Obviously, it means one person can blow for everybody. That'd be wonderful if Rav Papa, Ravina, Ravashi said it, but none of them said it. The Yom Teruah, with all due respect, as great as you are, you're not an Amora. You can't make a drasha. He's making up a drasha.
So you're saying that there's two drushas according to the Yom Teruah, not one drasha and one mashmos?
Correct. It's a drasha. He invented this drasha. If there was a drasha like this, I would say you're right. Oh, great. You answered the question. It's beautiful. Great. Gavaldik. We still have the second kasha, by the way, but Lamaisa, there is no such drasha. He invented a drasha, and you can't do that because, come on, I want to make my own drasha. You have to wear 6 pairs of.
So why does he say Umashma Shekol Yisrael Yotzim Keturechad? He should say Darshina and Shekol Yisrael Yotzim Keturechad.
Just like that drasha is, because it's mashma. The drasha over there is a mashmos. So to over here.
Ours, he's talking about ours right now. Yesh Lomar, the crux of Yom Teruah.
Just like over there, it's a mashmos, because the pasuk doesn't say Kol Yisrael Yeshu Sukkahs. It's a cheshbon. The Gemara says, listen, how could 600,000 people own one sukkah? There's not a shava pruta worth for each person. Must be that it's one person owns it and everybody sits in it. It's a mashmos. It's a mashmos and a drasha. So to Yom Teruah Yelachem is a mashmos that Yom Teruah for everybody. It should be one trua of everybody. Okay, so it's a similar mashmos, a similar sort of vein, like a similar sort of drasha. Just like that drasha, this drasha is similar. But he's inventing a drasha. I think it's very clear what he's saying. But again, and so question number 1 is he's inventing a drasha that doesn't exist. And number 2, what then right do you have to split it? What right do you have to say, oh, if for the tkiya, that's not a mitzvah gufo, but the shmiyah, that it's a mitzvah gufo. If Yom Teruah Yelachem teaches you that it's not a mitzvah gufo, it's a gvaldik. The whole thing's not a mitzvah gufo. I send you to Shul Rosh Hashanah, you listen, you hear the tkiya, you listen, and be motzi. Please be yotzi me.
Definitely sounds like he's making his own drasha, that's for sure.
I would say so. I would say he's guilty of, overstepping bounds. Now, again, obviously, listen, we don't start up, we say these things Lamana Pilpul because, again, he has a status. He's somewhere between a Rishon and Achon. He's the Beishose's Rebbe. You know what I mean? So this is Marie Ben Lev. He wrote 2 svarim, the Kapos Tamarim on Sukkah and the Yom Teruah on Hilchos Shofar. And he's, so when you ask a question on a person like this, you say it with, obviously I know I'm dead wrong, but Laman Pilpul will ask it. But it sure does sound, Laman Pilpul sure does sound like a good question. And by the way, it'd be worthwhile to say a piece of Torah to answer this. If you could answer this, it'd be a wonderful thing you could say a chabura to answer this, and you get full credit for a valid chabura in my book. Again, that's not my goal. My goal, I want to use this to validate a structure to show that you can do something like this, so that you don't call me an apikoris, a kofar, a heretic, or something terrible. But we'll see.
So Rishonim, let's say he's a Rishon. So Rishonim are not allowed to do like a gully craw type of thing, like that kind of. They don't have leeway.
Not if they don't want to lose their license. You'll lose your Rishon license like that. They'll take it away. There'll be a federal trial. They'll bring you up on Trump. They won't Trump up charges. They'll bring you up on charges. It'll be in CNN in a minute. MNBC will cover it. CNN, Fox won't cover it, but it'll be covered. Every news channel will cover it.
So which aspect exactly is Rebbe taken from this that you could use because for the tia but not the shmiya? Is that the part?
Yeah, it's a very interesting structure he's created where you're using, part of it has a din of a mitzvah gufo, part of it doesn't have a mitzvah gufo, meaning the tkiya part is not a mitzvah gufo. That you could do for me. But the shmiya part is a mitzvah gufo. Very creative, very clever. Again, in his system, it's not based. He's just inventing it. It's a nice split.
Wait, so if Rebbe doesn't agree with how he set up his system, how could Rebbe use his system?
I don't know. We've got to figure that part out. But it seems of coming attraction. But again, you'll see it. This is helpful to me. because it's a support for a structure that I would like to use. But one thing for sure, it helps us clarify, I believe, the point. Again, the three problems really are number one, if the Yom Trua is correct, then the Shagas Aryeh is toast. Right? Meaning it won't help us at all for the Shagas Aryeh. You guys see that part?
Because of the fact that he relegates the tekiah to a shlichus.
Exactly.
And once it's a shlichus, then a chetzi ben chetzi ben chorin doesn't have to be roy labila in order to be motzi
right.
to the
you
mitzvah.
don't have to do it. You said like this is exactly the structure that I said Thursday night. Honestly, I thought that those steps I thought before I really. I read the Yom Trua early, but I don't think I gained it from him. I don't want to take credit for it. But the point is that you're right. Meaning it won't work. I mean that's exactly exactly the answer why the Shagas Aryeh is wrong. Meaning the minute you say you don't have to do the tekiah yourself, you can let somebody else do the tekiah for you. The Shagas Aryeh is wrong. He's toast. He's dead in the water. Shagas Aryeh has to say something about the fact that you got to do the tekiah yourself. Otherwise, it's not similar to the Elam case. It's not a Shomei Kona case. It's not you don't have to speak. So really, we're holding now, gentlemen, is as follows. We have a very, very shver Shagas Aryeh. We don't have a clue to how to read them. We have a Yom Trua says a beautiful answer, and argues clearly slugs up the Shagas Aryeh. But Grada, we have a problem reading them anyway because, number one, he invented Russia. Number two, he makes a split that's very arbitrary. So everything right now is muddy. Like, hey, we better come back. Don't stop now. Don't stop now. We gotta.
Rebbe, is it possible that he would be moda that in fact the shaila on him is correct? However, because the ikar is tremendously the shmiyah, that we allow b'de'eved that the tekiah, it's okay.
So if you had a Mora who said that, a pasuk who said, okay, but how do you have a right to invent things? I want to say on Tuesday there's no mitzvah tefillin because no tefillin Tuesday. How do you know it? It's a mashmos and a pasuk. You can't invent things. You can't. The Torah has a system of limud. People say Amoras have a right to. Meaning, the Tanoim have the rights to do that which Amoraim don't have to do. Amoraim have rights to do that which Rishonim don't have to. There's a pecking order, and things you're allowed to do, things you're not allowed to do in your category.
I appreciate what you're saying, but the fact that you say it means that there must be I'm going up the right direction.
That's right. That's right.
Rebbe, I just want to can I just point Rebbe in the other direction for a second? So Rebbe wanted to say there's no way that the Shagas Aryeh really means Shomea Ketokea.
Right. That for sure. I do not accept that. Right.
But I was thinking that like when the Gabbai in Yeshiva says by Shofar, he says you have to have in mind to blow whatever the Baal that we have to have in mind whatever the Baal Tokea is blowing.
Right.
So I was thinking about that. Like, is it shaykh that maybe like your shmiya like wraps around his tekiah, and Mamela there is like a din of Shemei Ka'ona there?
Let's assume it was a regular shlichus, right? And let's say tekiah had a regular din shlichus to it, right? Then I think you'd understand exactly why the Gabbai says that. If you're my shliach and you're going to blow and I'll be yotzei, let's say not a mitzvah, like Yom Trua sets it up, right? Where you could do the tekiah and it counts for me. But I have to have in mind, it has to work for me. Now, let's say I thought you're going to blow a shvarim, and instead you had in mind blowing a trua. Or really the case is where you had a coal and it broke, and you had in mind the second part of the coal. Watch this. Let's say you blew a long tekiah, and the first half of the tekiah, you realize it's no good, it broke, and then you had in mind, okay, the second part is going to be the good tekiah. So that was your kavanah to use the second part of the tekiah, but I thought you were using the first part of the tekiah. So in that case, if you're my shliach, it wouldn't work because I had in mind the wrong part of the tekiah. So he said, listen, just put whatever the Baal Tekiah has in mind, that's what you're going to be yotzei with, and don't get fancy with them. You know what I'm saying?
Is that different than like let's say a kiddush matzav? Like let's say during kiddush, right? What is your if you're making kiddush for me, what's my kavana supposed to be?
So I, as the motzi, have to have a mind to be motzi you. You, as the one being yotze, have to have a mind to be yotze. And then Shomei Kona works.
Meaning I have to have in mind to be yotze what you are saying, the words you are saying, or what does that mean?
No, the pashtus is you have to have a mind to be yotze because mitzvah shrichas kavana. So if you don't have a mind to be yotze, listening ain't good enough because you didn't have a mind to be yotze. I have to have a mind to be motzi because on some level I'm your shliach. You have to have a mind to be yotze because mitzvah shrichas kavana.
I was just trying to figure out what exactly I'm like. Let's say someone's being kiddush for me, like what I'm supposed to think. You know what I mean? Like what are the thoughts that's supposed to go through my head when that happens?
So thought should be as follows. I'm now, with his words, I'm going to be Yotzei Mitzvah Kiddush. When he says the words, you think the words he says. Vayikulu Hashemayim va'aretz, Hashem, the beginning, the concluder of the Shemayim va'aretz. You think the translation of the words, just pay attention to what he's saying.
So to me, that sounds a lot like what we're supposed to do with shofar. We're supposed to think the tekios that he is blowing.
Now you're right, but again, we don't know why. But the reason why by tekiah is slightly different, only because again, let's assume the Baal Tekiah blew a 2-part tekiah. He blew it, it broke, and he blew it, and he had in mind using the second part, but you thought he was using the first part. Or you thought it was a shvarim, whatever. The point is, that's why we say that line. Don't have in mind whatever he has in mind to be yotze, not what you have in mind. But the point is, some element. Listen, at the end of the day, there is some element of shlichus by tekiah. We don't understand why it is, but the Shagzari clearly seems to hold that there's a shlichus for the tekiah, and when you're tekiah, when the Baal Tekiah blows, it gets a din of my blowing. And so obviously I have to listen, I have to have a mind, whatever. But the point is that there's some element of shlichus on the tekiah. All right. So right now nothing is beautiful. Everything is muddy. Everything is unclear. And in Mitzvah Hashem, next year we'll start to straighten things out a little bit more. In Mitzvah Hashem, scenes of coming attractions. Probably understanding.
Have a good night, Rebbe.
Okay, good. Good. Laila tov. Good enough.